Are you looking for a large family car, but you don't want a minivan? Well, this is the Toyota Highlander, American dream, made in Japan. Well, actually it's made in the USA, Princeton, Indiana, to be precise. Subscribe, etc.
What is the Toyota Highlander? It's a large, by European standards, or mid-size, by US standards, SUV or crossover. In Japan and Australia, it is known as the Toyota Kluger because of a trademark trim name for the Hyundai Terracan. In the US, the Highlander is a suburban alternative to the body-on-frame Toyota 4Runner, and in Europe, to the Land Cruiser 150. The Highlander is above the RAV4. In the US, it is also a more adventurous alternative to the Sienna minivan.
What does it mean, a large SUV? At almost 497 centimeters, the Toyota Highlander is longer than the BMW X5, Ford's S-Max and Galaxy, the Kia Sorento, the Mercedes-Benz GLE, the Renault Espace or the VW Charan.
Although most of these SUVs have longer wheelbase than the Highlander, it doesn't really matter, as Toyota offers generous interior space. Some of the very few SUVs and crossovers bigger than the Highlander that I could find include the new Land Rover Defender and the Discovery, as well as the Mazda CX-9, which is currently unavailable in Europe.
I'll start with the boot, which in 5-seat configuration has around 600 liters volume, around because it's slightly more with the seats pushed all the way 18 centimeters to the front and slightly less when the seats are in their normal position. More about that in a moment.
With the second row seats folded, cargo volume soars to over 1900 liters. The load area length is around 2 meters to the front seats, set to my driving position. The most narrow place between the rear wheels is 114 centimeters wide, so 2 adults could easily nap here. But the Toyota Highlander is a 7-seater, and 7-seaters offered in Europe usually have very little space left with the third row open. For example, the Kia Sorento has less than 200 liters. The Toyota Highlander has just below 270 liters behind the third row. This includes the underfloor storage, where the boot cover can be stowed away. You'd have to go up to the Mercedes-Benz GLS to get significantly more than 300 liters behind the third row. Backrests in the third row have adjustable tilt. It's best to open them from the boot side, but if you reach them, you can close them also from the cabin side. You can open and close the tailgate with gesture, with a button on the tailgate, as well as with a remote control. However, you need to unlock the car first to use the fob.
The third row is very spacious. Without going into significantly larger vehicles like the Mercedes-Benz GLS or the BMW X7, the last time I remember having this much space in the third row was in a Mazda CX-9, although in the CX-9 the seats were a bit higher and there was slightly more legroom without moving the seats. Now here I can barely fit without sliding the seats forward. However, an inch or two and I'm fine. Now the seats are very wide. Each of the passengers gets 2 cup holders. There are air vents. However, there are no ISOFIX anchor points back here, which you get, for example, in the Kia Sorento.
Getting in and out is surprisingly easy. Sitting in the third row, I can not only slide the seat, but also tilt it to get out. Although doors cover the sills, on a rainy day there's a lot of debris accumulating around the seals. The same goes for the front doors. Perhaps roads in the US are cleaner, but I think this is just someone's poor design.
In the second row there is a lot of legroom and headroom. Even with the seat moved 18 centimeters forward, an adult will fit. The levers to slide and fold the seats are on the door side, so they're easy to find and reach when you're standing outside.
The back seat splits 40-60. In the US, there is also a 6-seater version with captain's chairs in the second row. Perhaps this is the reason for this crevice between the seats in the 7-seater version. Passengers in the second row get third-zone climate control, side seats are heated, and this is also where the only two ISOFIX anchor points are. Not much for what is supposed to be a family car, wouldn't you say? Door pockets will accommodate bottles. There are also cup holders in the armrest. There is no ski hatch, so if you want to carry something longer, you'll need to fold part of the seat.
While the second and third row are very spacious, I'm not overwhelmed by the amount of space in the front. I don't want to say it's cramped in here because it is not. However, for this big a car, I'd expect more space for the driver and the passenger in the front. Well, at least there's a lot of place for whatever the driver and the passenger can have on them. There are 3 USB ports and a 12-volt socket, and on a shelf above there is a hole to lead cables through to charge all the devices you have with you.
The passenger gets a separate shelf and a smallish glove box. Under the armrest is not just storage but also an induction charger. There are also 2 cup holders on the tunnel, however door pockets are on the small side. On top of the dashboard is a giant infotainment screen. Good thing it has Apple CarPlay and Android Auto. External apps take 3/4 of the screen, while a quarter is reserved for the onboard functions. AC, as well as basic radio functions, are accessed with physical buttons and knobs. The instrument cluster consists of 2 analog dials and a display between them. There are also buttons on the steering wheel as well as above the driver's knee. This is where the heated steering wheel button is. Heated steering wheel as well as heated seats remain active every time I start the car. I like that.
On the road, the Toyota Highlander feels big. The BMW X5 or the Renault Espace may be only slightly smaller, but thanks to rear-wheel steering, they're easier to maneuver. The Highlander likes to go straight.
Although the 360 camera helps, maneuvering this in the city means a 3-point turn often becomes a 4 or 5-point turn. The turning radius is less than 6 meters, but even if you fit the Highlander into a parking space, you are likely to slide through a barely open door. Bear that in mind.
Toyota promises the Highlander will accelerate from 0 to 100 km per hour in 8.3 seconds. I got 8.6 seconds, and around 6 seconds from 80 to 120 km per hour. The Highlander is a hybrid, so under the bonnet is a 2.5-liter 4-cylinder petrol engine, and the rear wheels are powered by an electric motor. The total output of the hybrid powertrain is 248 horsepower, and the declared fuel economy is around 7 liters per 100 kilometers combined. I once got close to 7, but overall I was averaging around 8, which is still good taking account into the fact that this is a 2-ton plus SUV with aerodynamic properties of a pile of bricks. The gearbox is an ECVT, which means that when you start accelerating, the sound is hard to connect with the speed, with the acceleration, but if you're taking it easy, you won't notice any difference.
For a pile of bricks on wheels, the Highlander has decent soundproofing. The car can also tow up to 2 tons. The suspension is relatively comfortable, although it does get upset when there are more holes in the tarmac over a short stretch of road. In the corners, the Highlander leans like a rootless tree. After a few hours behind the wheel, I learned to take my foot off the accelerator as soon as I saw the slightest curve on the horizon. Also, going around the roundabout, there is going to be a lot of turning of the steering wheel.
Driver aids in the Highlander, like in most Toyotas, they seem to be there because they have to be, not because they're really supposed to be useful. But if anybody asks, there is traffic sign recognition, which works most of the time. There is adaptive cruise control, there is blind spot monitoring, there is lane departure warning, which sometimes works and sometimes doesn't. It's just that the European brands, they do it better, less obtrusive and more helpful. It's a shame Toyota didn't take more from BMW when it was wrapping the Z4 to make it look like the Supra.
Toyota says the Highlander has 20 centimeters ground clearance and it can wade in water up to 40 centimeters deep. The manufacturer also provides approach, breakover and departure angles that's 18, almost 17 and almost 23 degrees respectively. The car has a special trail mode in which the all-wheel drive system works more aggressively. On my diagonal approach test, you can clearly see, and I could clearly feel it, that the car copes better in trail mode when I stopped halfway for two wheels to break traction. Prices of the Toyota Highlander start at €53,000 and go up to €63,490 for this luxury trim. Plus the panoramic roof and the paint, and that adds up to about €65,000. For this price, it's hard to find another spacious all-wheel drive 7-seater SUV like the Toyota Highlander.
If you have a bunch of small kids and you think this is a great alternative to a minivan, I'm sorry, but it's not. However, if your kids no longer need child seats, they'll appreciate third row space, and you'll appreciate the remaining boot space behind the third row, which will accommodate things like their school backpacks or some shopping even. And what do you think about the Toyota Highlander? Let me know in the comment section below.
If you like my sarcastic, down-to-earth and possibly mildly amusing car reviews, join me every Friday at 3 p.m. Central European Time, and don't forget to subscribe and like this video as it helps me with the YouTube algorithm. Thanks for watching, and I will see you in the next one.